Okay. Very. So the warm-up today had you looking at a table. And I don't think any of us missed a question, so we were doing good on that.
I did.
Today we're going to talk about a two-way table. So that's going to be the first blank that we fill in at the top here. Two-way table. So this is, you'll see a lot of questions. I know we already took the PSAT this year, but for those of you that are not yet juniors, that test your junior year will allow you to be exempt from your final exams or to get to leave school early your senior year. So I see these on that test all the time. So here's a two-way table. So let's just look at it first and then come back to the examples. Here we have two different kind of descriptions going on, right? We can classify by grade. So we're looking at 9th and 10th graders, but we're also classifying by if those 9th or 10th graders have a pet or they don't have a pet, okay? And so it's going kind of multiple directions. We have lots of different ways to look at the data. So if my question asks how many 10th graders have a pet, we want to locate the 10th grade column and, the one that has pets, which is this number right here, 67, okay? So we can say 67th 10th graders have a pet. So that's how we read a two-way table. It works almost the same as the regular ones. We now just have two kind of rows and columns to look at.
Looks the same to me.
So let's look at the next one. It says, what is the percent of 9th graders who do not have a pet? So let's first answer the question. How many 9th graders do not have a pet?
22.
Good. That's this one right here. So that's the number that's going to go on the top. So on the top when we're doing percents is the amount over, and we want to know, it's asked what percent of 9th graders. We want to know how many total 9th graders are there.
72.
Good. So we look at the 9th grade column, 72 at the end. And so what do I need to do with those two numbers? Divide. Good. So we type that in. 22 divided by 72. Good. 0.3. We can round to 0.306. Or you could do like 0.31. But either way, we need to round up a little bit. We have a 5 at the end there. So I can get, you either will have 30.6% or 31%, depending on how you round it, okay? So that was very similar to the warm-up today. It's just that now we're looking at a few more columns, okay? Let's look at the next one. So let's just take a look at this table first before we look at the questions. We're comparing students and teachers, but we're also comparing what their favorite school lunch is, and we have 4 options for my school lunch. Do I have any totals here, though? No. So if we're asked to find a total, you will have to add that up, which is why we're going to do a lot of adding in our calculators today. So it wants to know, what is the relative frequency of students who prefer pizza to teachers who prefer pizza? And we don't know what this word means yet, but this is your ratio. So I want you next to that word relative frequency on your notes, I want you to write the word ratio. Okay? Yes. Wait till we're done. We're almost done. Okay, so ratio. What do we know? What symbol do we use for a ratio? We did that last semester. What symbol? There's a couple different answers. When you think of ratio, what are you thinking of? A fraction, right? A fraction. So we just want to put those numbers in fraction form. So my first thing that it tells me, and whatever is listed first goes on top. So how many students prefer pizza according to my table here?
335.
Good. So that's going to go on the top. So we can say on top is going to be students pizza, and then the teachers who prefer pizza is on the bottom. So how many teachers prefer pizza? Good. 16. That's it. So if it asks for a relative frequency, that is just a ratio. You're going to leave that as a fraction. You always want to check, can you reduce? We cannot reduce here. One is an odd, one is an even, so it doesn't go into 2, doesn't go into 3. We can't reduce, okay? So let's try that again. What is the relative frequency of students who prefer chicken to total student survey?
Chicken nuggets.
Okay, yeah, so chicken. So we're going to say students who like chicken, right? We want to be specific there, over total students. So again, that's going to be my fraction. Whatever is listed first goes on top. The second thing that's listed, or whatever comes after the word 2, goes on the bottom. So how many students prefer chicken nuggets? Good. 257, according to my table. But how many total students are there?
727.
Good. How did we get that? Add up your entire student row. Good. So sometimes they don't have totals, and on the homework they will not have totals, so you have to do that yourself. So good, 727 is what you get when you add those up. And I don't need to reduce. There's nothing to reduce here. Okay, they don't go into each other at all. Okay, so let's look at the practice page. We're going to do one together, and then you're going to do a couple on your own. I'll check that, and then we'll start working on the homework. This is really as complicated as it gets. It's not, right, it's not too bad, but we want to make sure we can do these tables. Okay, let's look at number 2 together, because this one kind of threw some people off in the last class. So it says, what % of students surveyed do not have a cell phone? So it's asking for a %. So I know I'm going to need to set up that fraction and divide. So the first thing that it says, or how many do not have a cell phone, right? We want to answer the question. How many students do not have a cell phone? 310. Okay, it's 310 from the elementary, but it just says total students, right? Good. So you want to make sure to include all of those students, because it doesn't say what elementary or middle school, it just says students, okay? So good. We can say 504 do not have a cell phone. That's by adding up the no cell phone. Then it wants to know what % of students. So that's the group that we're putting on the bottom. That's a total. How many total students do I have from all?
2,078.
A little bit more than that. Or wait, no. I think that is right, actually. Let me see. I think it's just a little bit more.
2582.
Yeah, 2582.
You're done.
No, I think you did the ones that didn't have the cell phone, or that did have the cell phone. We want total, okay? So 2582 is I'm going to put a star next to that number because that's going to help you with some of the other ones. That's going to be your total of all students, okay? Because it doesn't say what % of elementary, it just says of students. We have to add every single one of those numbers up, okay? And then what do I do with those numbers now since it's asking me for a %? Good. And what is the decimal that we get?
0.195.
Good. Good. So we can just say 0.195. If I move it 2 times, I get 19.5%. Okay? So I want you to finish working on 1, 3, and 4. Really pay attention to those words of are you just finding students or maybe elementary students. Things like that. Okay? So when you're done, let me know. You can go to the bathroom now.